This is breaking news.
Right now, Governor Murphy is expected to sign legislation expanding gun safety in New Jersey. Let's listen in.
Listen. Councilmember Linda Koskowski. Councilmember Tyler Candell. Councilmember Dan Hirsch. And Councilmember Joel Branch. Metuchen is a small borough, but over the last few years, many of our residents have helped find a big voice on the expansion of gun control laws at the state and federal levels. I welcome our state leaders back to the borough. We are so appreciative that the governor and speaker have chosen to come back to the very place where they first announced in November some of the very common sense gun safety bills that will be signed here today. We also welcome our Senate President, our Lieutenant Governor, and Attorney General. Yesterday's horrific mass shooting during a family-friendly July 4th parade in Highland Park, Illinois, only further illustrates the importance of this bill signing. 6 people, including a 76-year-old grandfather in a wheelchair, lost their lives in that attack. Would it surprise you to know that another 31 people were killed by gun violence just yesterday, including 5 who were murdered right here in New Jersey? That's 37 who were killed by guns in America on July 4th. This has to stop, and we are so grateful that the governor and the legislative leaders have shown that they are willing to take the steps that are necessary to make things safer here in New Jersey. The importance of today's bill signing is twofold. One, we're continuing to do what we can to reduce direct threats to our communities. And two, in adopting these common sense laws, New Jersey is setting an example for leaders in other states that if we can do this here, you too can take more effective steps to protect your residents. What you are witnessing here today is real leadership. And it is my great privilege to introduce someone who is showing the rest of our nation what leadership in these times means. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce this leader, who also happens to be a great friend to the borough of Metuchen and to me personally, Governor Phil Murphy.
Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Man, we're hanging from the rafters here today. Good Lord. Good morning, everybody, and thank you, Jonathan, for that very gracious and kind introduction, and it's great to be back in Metuchen. I have no new greetings from Sir Paul, but I will see him next month for dinner, and I will mention that I was in Metuchen again. There's a whole lot of folks to acknowledge. The Lieutenant Governor will be with us in a few moments. Acting Attorney General Matt Plotkin, State Police Superintendent Colonel Pat Callahan is in the House, Senate President Nick Scutari, thank you for everything you do. Yeah. We're in his county, so I want to give him a particular shout out, the extraordinary Speaker of the General Assembly, Craig Coughlin. Senator and Governor, and one of the guys I've looked up to for a long time, Dick Cody, is in the House. This could take a while, I apologize, but it's worth it, I promise you. Senate Majority Leader Teresa Ruiz, Senator. To her right, Senator Joe Cryan is with us. Big shout out there. From the General Assembly, we have Assemblyman Chairman John McKeon is with us. John, thank you. Assemblywoman Verlina Reynolds Jackson is in the House. You don't get to come to, hey, Sheila. Sheila Y. Oliver. I promise you I was saying nice things about you before you got here, Sheila. You don't come into Middlesex County unless you can say the word Karabinchak. Assemblyman Rob Karabinchak is in the House. As is Assemblyman Sterling Stanley is in the House. Assemblywoman Sadaf Jaffer is in the House. I haven't forgotten you, Pat, but I didn't do it in the right order. Senator Pat Duignan is with us. Extraordinary Middlesex County Chair Kevin McCabe is with us, Mr. Chairman. Vice Chair Beatrice Moskowitz. Beatrice. Esfloit Michel. The Chief Counsel, Paramel Garg, is in the House. Is that you, Santi? Middlesex County Commissioner Santi Nara. Members of council, as were already introduced by the mayor, I want to, by acclamation, acknowledge them as well. We would not be here today without a couple of other folks. Bill Kastner. Bill, I want to thank you. In a couple of minutes, the list will be shorter of those who were not introduced than those who were introduced. Terry Tucker, God bless you. Great to have you. Gary Taffet, thank you for everything you do for this and for so many other fronts. And we're going to hear from some of these people in a couple of minutes, but we're also going to hear from a young woman who's the co-director of March for Our Lives, New Jersey, Raisa Rubin Stankiewicz, who's with us. And to all the other, if I forgot your name, I apologize, but to all the other extraordinary advocates and voices for gun safety, thank you for everything you do, and God bless you. So 14 months ago, actually almost 15 at this point, on April 15th, 2021, we came together to unveil what we called our Gun Safety 3.0 package of legislation. We did so because while we had made great progress in becoming one of the nation's top states for gun safety, we knew there was more to do. And every life lost to gun violence is one life too many. On that same day, again, this is April 15th, 2021, there were 4 mass shootings in America, including, you may recall, an incident at a FedEx facility in Indianapolis, Indiana, in which 8 people were senselessly murdered by a former co-worker. In the time since, there have been more than 870 mass shootings in America, and sadly we know the towns: Oxford, Michigan, San Jose, California, Buffalo, New York, Uvalde, Texas, and as Jonathan mentioned yesterday, the awful, awful, unspeakable tragedy in Highland Park, Illinois, which, by the way, is a quintessential American town. We had some cops, Pat, in Philadelphia shot last night, the details of which still are in a little bit of a fog of war. It just goes on and on. Those are a few among hundreds and hundreds more. Roughly 2 mass shootings every single day since we put forward our plan to help stop gun violence. And in New Jersey, since April 15th, 2021, there have been, Pat, by my count, 1,271 total shootings, and those shootings have claimed 291 precious lives and 1,313 others who were injured. There are those who think this is all just the price of living in the United States. There are those who take seriously the words of the satirical website The Onion, and this was the headline: "No way to prevent this, says only nation where this regularly happens." And sadly, it appears 6 of these mistaken people sit on the Supreme Court of the United States of America. Well, we believe differently. We believe, or I should say no, we know that we can take on the epidemic of gun violence and win. We can put in place strong and smart gun safety laws. that are consistent with the Second Amendment and still protect our communities. And surely there were those who said we would never get the gun safety bills we all supported through the legislature. There were those who said that we were being too ambitious, that the gun lobby was too strong, and that our political system would not have the will to take on and win this fight. But again, we believed differently. And guess what? Today we are making Gun Safety Package 3.0 the law of the land. So here goes. Bear with me. First, and perhaps most importantly, we are enacting a public nuisance law that will allow our Attorney General, Matt Platkin, to hold gun manufacturers and distributors responsible for the damage caused by the reckless and unchecked marketing and sale of firearms. Secondly, we're also saying in no uncertain terms that if you want to buy a gun, you need to first complete a certified safety course. By the way, no different than if you want to drive a car, where you have to get a license showing you know how to safely use it. That's number two. Number three. Number three, the loophole that allowed gun owners moving into New Jersey to skirt the procedures that established New Jersey residents follow in order to qualify to purchase or obtain firearms. That loophole is hereby closed. Fourthly, we are requiring that when micro-stamping technology is commercially viable, and I think that's a decision, Matt, you and your office are going to make, gun retailers must offer firearms equipped with this technology with a financial incentive for customers to choose it. Micro-stamping leaves a one-of-a-kind imprint on every round of ammunition fired, so law enforcement can trace a specific round to a specific gun and identify perpetrators of gun violence. Fifth, we're finally requiring electronic record keeping of all ammunition sold in New Jersey to, again, help law enforcement monitor suspicious purchases and identify bad apple dealers and straw purchasers. Sixthly, we're increasing the penalties on those who break our existing law prohibiting the manufacturing or transporting of ghost guns. I thank the Senate President in particular for this, because if you're creating or transferring these untraceable guns, you're not a responsible gun owner. You are a criminal. And once and for all, we are banning the sale of .50 caliber weapons. I will never understand why, but my predecessor vetoed this bill, I think deferring to the gun lobby. Today, we reverse that mistake. So, all 7 of these laws in a few moments will be the law of the land in New Jersey. They are common sense, they are smart, they live up to our Jersey values. A poll released, I think, just last week proved the overwhelming popularity of these laws among the people of New Jersey. That same poll, by the way, also showed that too many residents, especially parents with school-age kids, live fearful of being the victim of gun violence. By the way, raise your hand. Did you go to a parade this weekend? Yeah, a fair amount of hands. Just think about that for a minute, what happened yesterday. It takes your breath away. So, based on that polling and based on those fears, these are not going to be our last words on gun safety. We cannot walk away from here today, none of us, thinking our job is done, because it is not. Not even 2 weeks ago, the right-wing majority that controls the United States Supreme Court, amen, erased our ability to decide for ourselves who can and who cannot get a permit to carry a concealed weapon. We used to assess that need on a case-by-case basis, where the person had to prove a verified need. No longer. This past Thursday, the same court signaled their desire to revisit our ban on high-capacity magazines, telling the lower courts to look at it again. And they also told the lower courts to look anew at Maryland's prohibition of dozens of models of assault rifles, some of which are also banned here in New Jersey. But we're not going to just lay down and let our streets, our houses of worship, our supermarkets, shopping malls, sports arenas, our bars, or anywhere else to be overrun with hidden guns capable of unleashing a hail of bullets. I look forward to working with the legislature and the leadership to address this awful concealed carry decision with strong and smart laws, expanding the number of places where firearms cannot be carried, and, by the way, saying without any doubt that you cannot bring your gun onto private property without explicit permission to do so. In the face of the Supreme Court's tragic and wrong-headed ruling, we need those laws, and all of these laws, more than ever before. Now more than ever, we cannot let up in this fight to keep our communities safe. I have mentioned it before, but it bears repeating. New Jersey has one of the nation's lowest rates of gun violence and gun deaths. There is a reason for that. It is because we are among the leaders in gun safety. We are not going to give up on always looking for new ways to save lives, protect communities, and ensure that every resident can live without fear. And I know that none of you are going to give up either. Again, I must extend a special thanks to Speaker Craig Coughlin, who stood with me in this very location late last year and committed to getting these bills done. Craig, we would not be here without you today, without your leadership, and without the work of your outstanding team who worked closely with our team to get these bills over the finish line. Amen. I also want to thank the guy to your left, Senate President Nick Scuteri, who, after taking the reins of the Senate in January, joined us in this journey and ensured that we would not ignore the horrors of Buffalo and Uvalde by doing nothing. And I thank you, Nick, for your leadership as well. So to the two leaders and every legislator with us today and beyond who voted on the right side of history, I say thank you. To all the members of law enforcement who stand with us for safer communities, I say thank you. And to all the folks from, amen, from Everytown and Moms Demand Action, Giffords, Brady, March for Our Lives, Sandy Hook Promise, Ceasefire NJ, and the Rutgers Gun Violence Research Center, from the Newark Street Team, Patterson Healing Collective, and Jersey City Together, on down to every community-based organization doing the hard work at the street level. To each and every one of you, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Today is a day to celebrate, yes, but it is not a day to rest on our laurels. Let's keep at it, folks. I cannot wait to sign these bills into law, but before I do, I want us all to hear from some of the gun safety champions with us, beginning with the extraordinary Lieutenant Governor of the great state of New Jersey, Lieutenant Governor Sheila Y. Oliver.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Governor Murphy, for giving us that great overview. And I want to thank you for, from day one, Governor Murphy isn't a Johnny-come-lately to this issue of gun violence. From the beginning of his first term, first year, he began to meet with all of those kinds of groups, as you heard him, laundry list, to address what we could do to make New Jersey safer, even though, as the governor made reference to, we are one of the safest states in our nation. I think last night I heard the Chicago mayor say something that resonated with people all across the country. She said, what happened in Highland Park has proven to our country. It doesn't matter your geography. It doesn't matter your ethnicity. It doesn't matter your socioeconomic status. The issue of gun violence in this country affects every sector of our citizenry. Gun violence, people should understand, yes, tremendous tragic loss of life, but families who experience gun violence, it doesn't just end with the demise of that person. Gun violence is intergenerational in terms of the impact that it has on families. Fathers, mothers, grandmothers, aunts, uncles. A chain gets broken within a family when someone is the subject of gun violence. The bills that the governor is going to sign today, 3.0, long overdue in our state. I think of the time I spent in the legislature with Craig and with Joe Cryan and with Verlina. There was a period of time, and Bill Kastner knows this well, we worked diligently to get these kinds of laws passed. And we worked diligently for 8 years. And every time we sent sensible constitutional bills to the governor's desk, for 8 consecutive years, they were vetoed. Governor Murphy, you've stepped up and we appreciate it. And I just want to close with this. People may feel that, well, this is so foreign to their quality of life. But when I think about some of the laws that exist in other states, I don't want to go and get my Starbucks coffee in the morning not knowing whether or not someone's coming in with a long gun. That is the experience in many states in this country. There was a time when you could go into the big box stores and buy all kinds of weaponry. We're going to change that in New Jersey. I'm very pleased that this is happening. And I want you to know that we also want to focus on the younger generation and deterring them from this, environment of potential gun violence. The governor has committed significant amount of funding with the support and sponsorship of bills that have come out of the legislature that provide funds to some of the largest cities in the state so that we can have anti-gun violence initiatives, anti-gang violence initiatives. We have to attack it from the bottom as well, and we're going to do that. Thank you very much.
Sheila and I are old enough to remember the Kerner Commission that was written after the uprisings of the late 60s, and it started off, I think the first sentence is, "We live in two Americas," and that was intended to address the racial fault lines. We've made some progress. We still live in two Americas in that respect, but we now literally live in two Americas based on your geography and where you live, whether it's reproductive freedom or guns or LGBTQIA, Christian, or voting rights or union rights, Barry, environment. It is increasingly really important where you live and where you work. Thank you, Sheila, as always. You mentioned the next generation, and we happen to have a great representative of the next generation. She's the co-director of March for Our Lives, New Jersey. Please help me welcome the aforementioned Raisa Rubin Stankiewicz.
Good morning, everyone. It's not often that in the gun violence prevention space we get to go to events that are a source of hope. So thank you for that. It's only unfortunate. Go ahead, yes. It's only unfortunate that it comes during a year where we have had more mass shootings than days. That it comes in the aftermath of one of the most devastatingly American tragedies, having a shooting during a July 4th celebration in Highland Park, Illinois. And this happens the same week that 9 people were shot in Newark, New Jersey. We know that no matter where you are in the country, and no matter where you are in the state, you are not immune from the impacts of gun violence. And that is a devastating reality. It is not a reality that needs to be the case, and that is why I am so grateful to live in a state. And this constantly comes up when I'm speaking with other organizers in March for Our Lives across the country, and just feeling so grateful to live in a state where the governor and the legislature are willing to take action to save lives, to make our communities safer, and to end gun violence in our communities, and to hold the gun industry accountable. And New Jersey is serving as an urgently needed model for the rest of the country with this Gun Safety Package 3.0. The governor outlined every single element of why these bills are all so common sense and so necessary. And with the bill that enables the Attorney General to hold the gun industry accountable for misconduct, we are not only filling these state loopholes, we are also filling federal loopholes at the state level, and that is so important. However, our work is far from over. We will continue working to make sure that more life-saving measures are passed, including making sure that we establish a standard for safe gun storage. And we must also continue to make sure. We're very grateful that the Assembly went ahead and passed a bill raising the minimum age to own shotguns and rifles to 21, and we must continue to push for that to get through the Senate. I just want to say thank yous are always difficult because this is such a community effort, and the governor did an extraordinary job, and I cannot top that. But I do really want to make sure that I thank a number of the groups that have worked on this issue, from Brady, New Jersey, to Coalition for Peace Action and Ceasefire, New Jersey, the incredible team from Moms Demand Action, New Jersey, the National Council for Jewish Women, the Unitarian Universalist Faith Action New Jersey, and the rest of the Gun Violence Prevention Network, who consistently show up and make sure that they push at every event that they are present. And of course, I also want to acknowledge the extraordinary work that the governor brought up of the community violence intervention organizations that we have. That is the future of gun violence prevention. If we are truly going to end it, we must continue in these critical efforts. I also want to thank the extraordinary legislative leadership and legislators who have pushed so hard for this today. I want to thank Senate President Scutari. I want to thank Assembly Speaker Coughlin. You posted these bills for votes, and you made sure that they moved, and we are so grateful. I want to thank Senator Ruiz, and I would like to also thank Assemblyman Greenwald, both of you, for your extraordinary efforts, and obviously Senator Cryan, Assemblywoman Reynolds-Jackson, Senator Cody, Assemblyman McKeon, so many other legislators who are here today who have done just extraordinary work sponsoring these bills, voting for them, pushing them through, continuing to apply the pressure. We continue to need your efforts, but it would not be possible without you. I also want to thank the Attorney General for so much effort, Matt Platkin for so much effort, but also for the fact that you are going to continue to be the future of gun violence prevention work. You have been and you will continue to be the case. And the only reason, I also wanted to make sure that I thank the former attorneys general who have worked on these bills. Former Attorney General Bruck and former Attorney General Grewal were also critical for these efforts. And it shows how many years we've been working on this. And finally, I would like to thank, obviously, the governor, the lieutenant governor, and the rest of the governor's team who has worked so hard on this effort. And a special shout out to the extraordinary Breonna Earl, who I think everyone here knows it would not be possible without. And I promise this is my last thank you. I just want to say a huge thank you to the tens of thousands of people who showed up in D.C. less than a month ago and who organized over 500 marches across the country, including a number in New Jersey. And we have, I noticed, a number of people, including Elizabeth from March for Our Lives Newark, which was a phenomenal event, and a number of other events across New Jersey that was critical for the pressure that was needed in order to continue to push gun violence prevention legislation. We cannot thank you enough. Organizing works. Thank you.
Hi, Don. I didn't see you. Good. I think, Raisa, you've got a future. Raisa Rubin Stankiewicz, by the way, is a rising junior at Rutgers University. Let's hear it for her. One of these days, we'll get you comfortable behind the microphone. That was extraordinary. Good Lord. One more time. He's been mentioned. He's doing an extraordinary job in this arena and in so many others. Please help me welcome the Acting Attorney General, Matt Plotkin.
Thank you, Governor, for organizing this and for today's events, but more importantly, for all the work you've done since, as the LG said, since day one on this issue. I'll touch on that more in a second. Mayor, thank you for hosting us. Senate President, Speaker, thank you for your leadership in posting these bills and working to get them done. To all of the senators and the assembly members, including members of leadership, thank you for what you did. These bills will truly save lives. To Colonel Callahan, Prosecutor Lonnie Chacon is here from Middlesex County, as well as many other members of law enforcement. I don't think we need a reminder of what law enforcement does every day in the context of preventing gun violence. Just look at the two officers, as the governor mentioned, shot in the city where the Declaration of Independence was signed in Philadelphia last night. So thank you for everything you do to keep us safe. To all the advocates in the room and across the state, thank you for continuing to push to make us better and to do better. And to Raisa, thank you for your comments. You know, I was thinking as you were speaking, March for Our Lives was born, as we all know, in the wake of the Parkland tragedy, February 14th, 2018. The governor wasn't in office more than 30 days. He was sworn in on January 16th. And I remember when Parkland happened, the governor walked into my office, and I was the governor's counsel at the time, and he said, we had talked about standing up an organization across the country of governors who were going to fight for gun violence prevention. We need to start that today. And so we did. We worked through the weekend at the governor's direction, and we formed States for Gun Safety, the first ever bipartisan coalition of governors to combat gun violence. And the governor brought on wisely Bill Kastner to be his first senior advisor on firearms, and from there was born Gun Violence Prevention Package 1.0 and then 2.0, and now we're here for 3.0. And so truly, from the first days the governor has been in office, this has been his top priority, and I've been privileged to watch that. But I was also thinking about Parkland because I grew up in the Columbine generation, and I hear about the future of gun violence prevention. Right? So when Columbine happened, I thought we were going to figure it out. I really didn't think we'd still be here. And there's no students anywhere else in the world other than in America that have to do what you're doing. And you are incredible, and your bravery is, and your confidence and your advocacy is so impressive. I just wish you could be a junior in college and you didn't have to stand up and advocate for sensible gun violence prevention measures. But here we are in a country where we're dealing with 10 mass shootings a week, a daily drumbeat of gun violence in our communities. Obviously, we saw tragedy last night and yesterday on 4th of July. New Jersey, as the governor said, has some of the strongest gun laws in America. And make no mistake, that is the reason why we also have one of the lowest rates of gun violence in this country. And I hear some of the people talking, I've been asked, even just in the last few days, well, isn't it all a problem of illegal guns? Trust me, we're going after them too, and I thank the Colonel for his work. But these laws save lives. And the epidemic of gun violence that is plaguing our country we are not immune to it here in New Jersey. Raisa mentioned last Thursday night, 9 people shot in broad daylight outside a bodega in Newark. In April, 9-year-old Sequoia Bacon-Jones in Trenton, shot and killed doing what 9-year-olds do. She was playing hide and seek in the courtyard of her apartment complex. In January, 18-year-old Robert Quadra, an honor student in Patterson, was shot and killed while unloading groceries for his grandmother. This is the reality in communities across our state. And the governor mentioned the Supreme Court. They have embraced a far right-wing approach to the Constitution that is enabling unfettered access to guns across the country. You know, I find it hard to believe that the court has said they give more deference to people who want unlimited access to guns than they do to law enforcement officers who are dealing with this crisis, or that they care more about dictating reproductive health decisions, as the governor talked about on Friday, than they do about protecting our kids. That's a definition of pro-life that I will never understand. And so I thank the governor and the legislators for considering a new round of laws that will address sensitive spaces in light of that horrible and reckless decision. We do need to continue to work, and that will keep us safer. But of course, we need to do more than address our permitting processes for concealed carry. And that's what the governor and the legislature has done today. These laws are common sense. These laws will save lives, and these laws are entirely consistent with the Second Amendment. Just think about a couple of the things the governor mentioned. Training requirements, common sense, and entirely consistent with the Second Amendment. Tracking ammunition sales so we know when someone's gearing up for the next mass shooting, common sense, and entirely consistent with the Second Amendment. Enhancing our already first-in-the-nation ghost gun laws, which are ghost guns are guns that are broken up into parts and are designed to avoid background checks. They're increasingly involved in violence in our communities. These penalties are common sense, and they're entirely consistent with the Second Amendment. And of course, the public nuisance law, which will give my office the ability to hold gun manufacturers and retailers accountable for the bloodshed that they're causing in our communities. No other industry receives the protection that the gun industry has. In 2005, Congress passed a law that essentially gave the gun industry broad immunity from civil suit. Not the opioid industry, not the big tobacco industry, no one else has this protection. So the law that the legislature and the governor have worked on will give us the tools to finally hold accountable those who are profiting off of this bloodshed. And I want to be clear to everyone, we're going to use it, and I can't wait to use it. Lastly, and I'll conclude, I just want to also thank the legislature and the governor for the budget this year, which included another appropriation of $10 million for gun violence intervention work at the community level. We have invested in hospital-based violence intervention programs and community-based violence intervention programs. There's no one way to solve the gun violence epidemic. It's enforcement, it's holding those accountable who are profiting from the bloodshed, and it's investing in our communities who are going to intercept and disrupt the cycle of violence. So I want to once again thank the legislature, leadership, the governor, lieutenant governor for giving us these tools. I assure you we will put them to good use. Thank you.